Well, the first thing I should probably mention with this one is that I have finally pretty much fully recovered by my self-inflicted stabbing. Hooray! So obviously now that I wasn't bound to a bed in essentially a hospital. Although I do go back there to obviously visit Tom, check up on him, how he's doing. And to be honest, he seems to be doing pretty good in that, actually. He's still struggling a bit in that with his new cybernetic body, but heck, he's coping better than I am with it. So things seem to be looking up, at least in that part. Oh, and also being on a few more dates with Dorothy. Sometimes with Tom there, sometimes with him not there, because as much as I do love the little guy, sometimes Mummy and Daddy need a bit of privacy. And before someone goes down in the comment section, privacy? There's nothing happening in the bedroom, is there? So he might as well be in there with you. First of all, you are completely wrong with that statement. Two, it's nice to have a bit of privacy, be alone. Like, vice versa and that, it's like, I like to have a bit of alone time with James, or sometimes just a bit of alone time to myself. We all do. But anyway, what I'm about to tell you now is on this day, I decided to make a decision. I had decided that I should take some time off from USP. I was considering even resigning, though. Now, obviously, since I'd healed enough and that they, were going to be wanting me back shortly, or at least I assume so, but, well, now just wasn't the right time. So today, I was going to go back there and just tell them that I needed some time off. I mean, I did well deserve it, right? I mean, well, I had been in a coma for the past couple of months, though that wasn't, okay, technically was my fault. Whatever. Let's just get on with it, shall we? So, yeah, anyway. So, I got a shuttle over to USP, who had pretty much, fully rebuilt the station and that. It looked as good as new. At least compared to how I'd last seen it just before Christmas. On my way there, just many things were going through my mind. Like, for example, what exactly was I going to say, and what would be the reaction of everyone there? Obviously, I'd let them know it's coming in beforehand and just popped out of the blue. That would be stupid, but I mean, would I get, resentment and that from them? What would be their reaction to everything that had happened? And I don't know. I mean, the fact that, a couple months had gone by, and that since I was obviously in a coma, and by this point, essentially 3 months had gone by since I needed about a month or so to recover. Had that given them all time to cool off, if any of them were frustrated? To be honest, I sincerely doubted it if any of them were. I had thought about this decision, though. I had discussed it with both Tom and Dorothy, whether, I should just resign or just take a bit of time off. Though both of them essentially just said the same thing. It was my decision, It's all up to me. I mean, it's my own life, and that if I want to continue going on but just have a bit of time off, then that's fine. Or if you want to resign fully, blah, 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 blah. Just, I wish I could have had a bit of a definitive answer. I mean, working for USP and that, doing all those missions and that, it made me feel good, because for the first time in my life I was actually, doing something good, something that felt more meaningful. I mean, not that, doing all those, concerts and that wasn't meaningful, because in a way it was. I mean, yes, it was, not saving lives or anything, but it was entertainment, and sometimes, that's just something that just gets you through the day. Stuff that just makes you feel better, or just distracts you from your, awful life. Though at the time, obviously, that is not what I thought about at all. To be honest, at the time, all I thought about is, right, how much money, fame and fortune can I get off this? Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I still do think about that a bit. I just want to be loved, essentially, by people. I like having affection, who doesn't? But now, a good deal of the world hates me, and, they have the full right to. But anyway, my shuttle arrived at USP station. I was piloted there by one of USP's employees. I didn't really say anything to them the whole time, nor them to me. I don't know, I think we both got the feeling that none of us exactly knew what we should say to each other. I think we were both in the same position, that, the pilot didn't really want to intrude an accent. I didn't really want to intrude, and that make him feel a bit awkward. It was just a very silent journey, though it did let me gather my thoughts. It was a bit of a long journey there. I had to take, several shuttles to several places before getting onto the one that took me to USP. This was basically so that my shuttle couldn't be ambushed so easily or tracked. After all, there still was a load of people out there who really, really, really wanted me dead. And yes, I know, you can hear them screaming in the comment section now that, why would you go back to USP then? And, yes, it's a bit illogical, but, I needed to face them face to face. I wasn't just going there to, say that I wanted some time off. I also needed to face them again, and maybe this was the first step before I was, able to face the rest of the world. And admittedly, at the time, you don't really think about stuff like that. So, all in hindsight. Lovely, lovely hindsight. Yes, because having hindsight on something means you're a fucking genius, doesn't it? Yes, absolutely. Anyway, I seem to be going off on one again, so let's just get on with it. On arrival, I was escorted to the new commander of the section that I was still technically currently part of, office. On my way there, I did pass several people. Some of them just refused to look at me or engage and just walk by. Clearly, not wanting to engage in any conversation about the obvious. Some of them clearly were almost willing to at least maybe say hello or something like that, but just couldn't quite no one was, rude about this or anything. It's just clear that they wanted to have a bit of distance, even though how much in the back of their mind they wanted to scream and shout something. Though I did pick up on mainly, the ones that I've passed, that I don't think they seemed to resent me. I don't think it was a resentment. I think it was more of a caring sort of thing. I think, obviously, they, more than other people, would realise the position that I was put in, since they faced dangers on essentially a daily basis. Not trying to justify anything I did, but they just seemed to know. It was a bit more of a mutual understanding. To be honest, in that walk there, I did feel closer to these people that I'd ever felt before. The people of USP, for the most part during my time there, I was pretty distant from everyone else, though. Well, after what happened with McKendry, and then obviously this, with half the earth being blown up, I don't know, just seemed to draw everyone closer and realise we were in the shit. As I entered the new commander's office, I was told to wait here and I would be seen to shortly. In that time, I did decide to have a look round, just to see if there was any clues and that to the type of person I was about to be meeting with. No, this office and that looked pretty bare bones and that. It looked like it clearly being stripped out of anything Commander Spats had in there beforehand, and that whoever had taken over this office hadn't really had the time to really, personalise it at all, or I don't know, just rearrange anything or have any case in that lying around. It gave me the impression of a bit of urgency, that there wasn't any time to do that. And, obviously I could understand why, with a massive clear-up, and that had happened beforehand, but it felt so depersonal that we were still living in a state of urgency. But it was just so odd how the office and that just looks barely used at all. It looks completely immaculate. Heck, even the chair looked like it hadn't been pulled out from under the desk in ages. I was waiting in this room for a good 5 minutes. Then finally the door opened. Then the new commander of this section of USP entered. She was a dark-haired woman of about my height. She was carrying a helmet which had clearly seen better days, being scratched and scraped and a few dinks here and there. Without ever making eye contact with me, she placed the helmet on the table, then unpulled the chair from under the desk and sat. Her eyes then glanced around the desk, giving her a few extra seconds before she would have to make eye contact with me. Then her eyes suddenly locked in with mine, like someone raising a gun to my face. What was in reality less than a second felt like a few minutes of just these cold eyes just staring at me. She then finally spoke. "You've been a lot of trouble for us, Mr. Doncaster," she said, relaxing her gaze from me. Seeming relieved now that finally the tension in the room was broken, she then continued. "Do you know how many resources I've had to put aside just to protect you?" I felt at this point I should say something. Look, I know I've been a right hassle and that. So, look, what do you want me to say? I don't know, what can I say? She then locked eyes with me again. "I don't think there's anything you can say that'll make anyone feel any better, to be honest. You might be able to make them understand your point of view and everything, though it still won't change anything." I then lowered my brow. Don't you think I know that? Oh, don't you think I know? One of my best friends is now broken. Quite literally. I wake up in the hospital finding out I have a son I didn't even know about. And this is the first time I get to speak to his father after what he's done. By some miracle of that, he doesn't resent me. I have to now face the rest of it. The rest of the world. I know there's nothing I can do that would change it. Though don't blame me for that. I did what I did. And I stand by it. I finally decided in my head that I was going to stand by my decision. For better or for worse. I don't know if it was just in this commander's voice or tone, but I don't know, something about it sort of irked me the wrong way. She then looked back down at the desk. Look, I wasn't trying to intimidate you or anything along those lines. But it isn't just you that's getting the hate, you know. People have been campaigning to get USP just shut down. Even going as far as wanting to get the higher-ups arrested. I then picked up on obviously I went a bit too far. So I decided to lean in. To, well, less try and comfort but more reassure her. Look, I'll make public appearances. I will face the decision that I made. I will face all the people that I hurt because of it. Then at that point, an alarm began to sound. The commander looked at her wrist and an incoming transmission. She then looked back up at me. Looks like you're gonna get a chance to prove it, she said. I then closed my eyes and put my face in my hands and muffled out, "Oh God, what is it now?" She replied with, "You know those campaigners I was just talking about? We've got some right now. Apparently word got out somehow that you were coming here, and now each one of them is going to want a piece of you." I pulled my hands off my face and then leant back and looked at the ceiling. Well, I wasn't exactly prepared for this today, but... Alright, I'll talk to them. She then looked at me slightly puzzled. Are you absolutely sure that that's the right thing to do? I then finally stood up and looked directly at her. Look, the longer I put it off, the worse it's gonna get. All I can do is try and make things better one day at a time. They probably won't listen to me or take on board anything I say. But at least it's a start. After all, you're giving me the prime opportunity to do so. I then began to walk out of her office. As the door opened, I turned back and looked at her. Tell whichever USP employee who leaked the information that I forgive them, and can't exactly blame them. In fact, they might have done a world of good. I then turned back and continued to walk down the corridor. The protesters had infiltrated the shuttle bay, and were shouting for me to come out and show myself. It was something I was quite used to. Unfortunately, normally in those circumstances when people had been screaming my name in the past, it was normally because they wanted an encore at one of my concerts or public appearances. However, these people were beckoning for blood. In my head I imagined them skinning me alive, and using what was left of me as a rug in a log cabin somewhere, with my head mounted on the wall. Just before I entered to greet my new adoring fans, I was offered a stun gun. However, I declined the offer. I decided that the best course of action was to go in there completely unarmed. Yes, it was stupid, but that was, to me, that felt the only way I could justify going in there and give an actual chance of them listening to me. No idea if that actually is a real advantage or not, but heck, it was worth a try. As I entered, I could make out about a dozen protesters. I reckon there was somewhere between maybe 40 and 50 of them, though it could have been more because I couldn't see all the way to the back. A force field had been put in place between me and them, so that they wouldn't just simply ransack the place. I then remembered something that Kylie Minogue once said to me. Or maybe it was someone else. I don't know. The point is, I think it was her who said that success to a successful performance is to make eye contact with each and every person in the room. Obviously this was hardly a performance, but I felt that the principle still applied here. I took a moment to gather my bearings, and then finally I spoke to them. You have the perfect right to be angry with me. Heck, I would go so far as hate and despise, wanting me to be tortured, suffer and die. Believe me, I felt the same about myself. But whatever I did, you can't blame USP for it. They had no say in the matter. When I set off those explosives, that was me acting alone. Me going against my orders, and me being responsible for the death of half the Earth. I then turned to one of the USP guards. Turn off the force field. The guy then looked at me confused and puzzled, so I repeated. I said turn off the force field. People need to know I'm not afraid of them, and that we can talk one-on-one. The guard then reluctantly turned off the force field. The crowd of people stayed still for a moment, not sure whether to move forward or not. So instead I took that decision. I walked towards them. I was not more than a foot away from the people who were at the front. Let me just put it to you straight. If you were put in that situation, knowing no matter what you do, the outcome would be bad, what would you do? Could honestly any of you say that you would just let the entire Earth die? I had no idea what half would be blown up. I didn't know how it was going to happen. But believe me when I say I waited until I just had seconds left. I know that millions upon millions of people are dead, and that is because of me. But also remember that millions and millions of people are still alive because of me. And I'm not trying to make myself look like the hero. I'm not. I'm not whatsoever. I'm just a regular guy like the rest of you. I don't know what to do in that situation. I haven't been trained to deal with something like that, on that scale. And even if I had trained for years and years for that moment, do you honestly think the outcome would be any different? I know that many of you who were successfully evacuated have lost your homes, your country even. And that old saying in The Wizard of Oz, it still stands. There's no place like home. Believe me, until recently, I didn't know what home was like. With the exception of when I was living with my parents, I had no idea what it was like to actually have a home, a place where you belonged at, surrounded by people who care for you. Believe me when I say, I can't even begin to feel what you lot are feeling right now. I can't. And that's the truth. That is the truth, everyone. You know, people can see how much they like, how much they understand and know what you're going through, but no one truly does. Heck, even a lot of you, one person from another, you don't know what the other person is exactly feeling. You may have some similarities and a rough idea, but it's not exactly the same, is it? So can any of you honestly say that you knew what was going through my mind, or knew how I felt when I was put into that position? Can you? Watching my friend die, and then thinking that my other friend had died, and then having to take the decision all on my own. I stabbed myself because of it. I wanted to die because of it. When I woke up just over a month ago from that coma, the first thing I wanted to do was finish myself off in the most painful way possible. But then I found out I had a son, And it reminded me of things. It gave me a reason to live a responsibility. I don't want him growing up in this type of world. Believe me, he's only 13 and he's already being through hell. He's told me of all the bullying he had all of his life. Relentless. And now he has to go through this. Having half the earth blown up. His father being a disappointment in real life. And you may think to yourself, that just sounds worse. You're right. It is. It's bad. I'm not pretending. But it reminded me of something. Trying to make things better. We're at our shittest and lowest point right now. And I know. And you know what? I'm just going to say it. We've just got to make things better and try. That's all we can do. If you want to torture and kill me, fine. I completely understand you wanting to do that. In fact, you might want that your whole life. There's many things that I've wanted and thoughts and that in my head. But honestly, could you act out on it? You want all this chaos and that to end, don't you? Well, by continuing it yourselves, it's never going to end. It'll just keep meandering on for eternity. Unless you make a stand now. And I'll stand with you. I'll be there every step of the way. Which is why I am going to start up a charity and campaign to help get the earth rebuilt. Help rebuild all of your lives. True, things may never be the same again. But we can make them better than they are today. So, ladies and gentlemen, after all of that, do any of you honestly want to hurt me right now? Because you're welcome to. I leaned my head back and stretched my arms out in front of them. A couple of them were nudging themselves forward. However, the rest of them were keeping them back. Then I put my arms back down and looked at them. You. Tell everyone, whoever needs to speak to me or wants me to speak to them, then they're welcome. And I will oblige. I'd like to... I then got a tap on the shoulder. It was the commander. She had a saddened look upon her face. She said, I have some news for you. And I'll only be a second, but I think I should tell you this privately. I then nodded and followed her back to her office. She said to me, you'll want to sit down for this. I obviously questioned her, saying, look, just tell me, what's wrong, what's happened? She then pulled out the chair. Please, sit down for this. As I sat down, I mentally prepared myself for what was about to happen. We've had a call from your son, James. Well, what's the matter? Is he alright? No one's trying to hurt him, have they? No. He called us to tell you that Dorothy passed away. And I wasn't there. I wasn't there. Was he? Yes. So he had to deal with it. All on his own. If you excuse me, I'm leaving. Look, don't you need a minute? I mean, I then turned back to her. It doesn't matter what I want now. James needs me. He wanted me there his whole life. But he needed me there today. And I wasn't. And believe me when I say nothing is going to stop me now. Because now I need him. She looked down at her desk and then nodded. And then left the room and vowed no matter what happened, I would make sure James would be okay.